Hey there, so this is an update on the first video that I posted about book covers, and in this video I'll go into more detail about the book covers and my experience with them. So if you are interested, the book covers that I'm using are the bukka ones, and these you can get from, for example, CD Japan. I imported from Japan, but if you have some stores near you that have similar book covers, then you might also consider doing that. It might be cheaper than importing stuff from overseas. And if you live in Japan, then yeah, these are readily available, probably at bookstores and other places. First, I'd like to talk about some of the pros and cons that I've noticed after using book covers for a while, or these specific book covers. And as for pros, the first one I have is that they do protect your books from light scratches and damage and like wear to the corners of the books, which sometimes can split with wear. So having covers on may prevent these splits from getting worse, for example. Following is a small demonstration of what I do when like the corners of the covers are kind of worn or split, and then I try to push it in after I put the cover on with a kind of a bookmark or a rule of sorts. So that helps the splitting corners from getting worse, I think, and I think that's really neat. Another pro is that I think they look pretty neat, and that also if you have a used, maybe a bit worn out, a bit scratched up book, if you put on a cover, it kind of makes those less noticeable. For example, this volume of Nana I got used, and if you look closely you might be able to see some of the light scratches that are on the cover underneath. I don't know if it's actually visible, but yeah, I think putting a cover on makes those light scratches less noticeable. Some of the cons though are that buying book covers is an extra cost in your budget aside from just buying books in general. So I think these are about 100 or to 200 yen, and they contain 10 book covers each. But because I'm importing these, I also have to pay for like shipping, and it adds up. So it ends up being a bit costly if you have a large collection and a lot of books that you want covered. Another thing is that it doesn't protect the books from like all types of damage. These are pretty thin, so they only really keep like the corners from splitting and preventing like light scratches. But if it's like heavy scratches that are impending, then it might not hold up, and the cover underneath it might get damaged like anyway. But and yeah, also as you can see, these are the sizes that I use. On CD Japan there are more, but these are the ones that I primarily use. And they don't fit all volumes perfectly. Like for example, here are some examples of volumes. Here for example, this was the one that fit the closest, but it has like a lot of excess plastic at the top, so that might not look super nice. Here there is a bit less, and with, for example, Haikyuu, there's only a tiny bit of excess at the top. So I think this fits pretty neatly, but if you don't like the look of the excess plastic on some volumes, this might be a downside. Another thing is that, for example, with these volumes like B-Stars and ETF, they have really nice matte covers, but you can't see it because of the cover, so they're just gonna be shiny. But I do think a pro though is that these matte covers, they get scratched or like get marks pretty easily, so I like to have them protected like this, even though I can't kind of appreciate the matte covers, the look of it. And then lastly, this is something some people might find as a con, because there is a cover on. When you're reading, it might like move a bit as so when you hold it, there is a bit of movement with the covers, and this might be annoying to some people, so have that in mind. So I know that the pros seem to overweight or outnumber the cons, but as for the benefits, I think they outweigh the cons for me personally, and that is why I personally like to use these book covers, but I know that they might not be for everyone. So after using these book covers for a while, I noticed that these volumes, for example, you can see that the plastic surface it has gotten pretty wrinkled, like so. I don't know if you can see it here, but this too has gotten pretty wrinkled. And my theory as to why this has happened is that these books have been cramped on the shelf too tightly together, so that the surfaces might have rubbed and pulled at each other, and that might have left these wrinkle marks. So what I suggest is that you beware of putting your books too tightly on your shelves so that this doesn't happen. So I usually keep my books that are from box sets in their box, and because of that I don't use book covers for those because they are pretty crammed in here quite tightly, and so that might make those wrinkles in the book cover that I showed you earlier. And I think I've put covers on the A Silent Voice box set books, but I don't think I'll be doing that to any of my other box sets. So I'll just quickly show a demonstration of how I put on the manga covers. Here I have a volume of Kimi ni Todoke, volume 1. I usually keep these in these manga bags, comic bags, but for this demonstration I'll try to put a plastic cover on this one. So first I take the back cover and place it into this band. Like this, and pull it the other side so it comes through almost all the way. Then I flip it over, and on this end I put the front cover like this. And from here on I can just push the book all the way in like this, and it fits really nicely. Then this piece, the sticky part, sticks onto this plastic band, and you can just peel this off and then place it over as neatly as you can. But what I like to do is that I find a book that has a kind of rounded spine like this one, and I use this book to push it neatly onto the plastic piece like this, so that way it sticks on pretty neatly. You can see at the top and bottom it aligns pretty well. And then with, for example, hardcover books, you can't really just push it on because it's pretty thick. So here I just use my hands to kind of flip it over and stick it on. And also with these larger hardcover books, you can't just like put the books into the cover the way I just showed you. You'd kind of have to pull the covers back like this and then put them on here and on here. And when they're all the way, you can kind of flip it over and stick it on here, because the covers are hard and can't be bent. So my previous demonstration wouldn't have worked on these hardcover books. But yeah, that was my quick demonstration. Continuing on, I'll give some examples of which size I use for which comics. And first I'll go through some of my Japanese comics, and after that I'll go through some of my English releases of Japanese comics or manga. So firstly, I have the yellow size, which is the Manga bunko. So these are for novels, and the ones that I use those for are, for example, Kino no Tabi and Bakano, and Yurarara. And as you can see, there is a bit of excess at the top, but I found that these would probably fit the best out of the sizes that are available. And then next up, I have the blue one. This is for shonen, shoujo, comic. And for this size, I use for most just standard shoujo, shonen manga. I have, for example, Tomodachi no Hanashi, Last Game, and Bleach, and Death Note. And as you can see, there is a bit of excess plastic at the top. Oh, I haven't actually put a cover on Bleach, so I haven't gotten to doing that yet, but you can look at the other volumes. Also, this edition of Shirokuma Cafe also uses this size, but as the other volumes also has a bit of this excess plastic at the top. Oh, I also heard that the reason that there is a bit of excess plastic at the top is so that you can more easily pull out books from your shelf by pulling at the top part, like this. And then next up is the seinen comic size, and these I use for seinen comics. For example, I use it for Kokushu Fudo and Yotsubato, Kingdom, Card Captor Sakura, the Nakayoshi Anniversary Edition, and Blue Giant. And here too, you can see that there is a bit of excess plastic at the top. Moving on, oh, sorry, I have this size, the business size, and for these, I use it for bilingual Japanese comics. So here I have Chihaya Furu, Nodamen Kandabal, and Sailor Moon. I haven't actually put a cover on Sailor Moon yet, so you can look at the other two for reference as to how it looks, kinda. And lastly, I have these, the Oban comic size, and for these, I use them for, I haven't actually put covers on this and this one yet, but the two middle volumes of Dragon Ball and Hikaru no Go have the covers on, as you can see. So these are examples of books that I use the Oban size for. So in this part, I'll talk about which book cover sizes I use for Western releases, English releases of manga. And firstly, I don't use this size, the smallest size that I have, because I don't have any English release mangas that are this size. So I'm gonna skip this one. next is the shonen shoujo comic size, and for this I use this for only a few. I use them for the vertical releases of, for example, My Neighbor Seki and Ajin, and I think these vertical releases are about the only ones that I use this size for. As for English releases, so moving on, I have the seinen comic size, the green one, and I think this is the one I use the most, or maybe not a second most, maybe. I use these for Dark Horse releases, like Mob Psycho 100, and from 7Seas, for example, Satoko and Nada, and from Vertical, Sakuran, and from I Hear the Sunspot, One Piece books. The next one is the one I use the most for English releases because I have the most volumes that are this size, and it's the Business, the purple violet one, and this size I used for the Shonen Jump imprint from this, Shonen Jump Advanced imprint from this, Shonen Sunday imprint from this, and also volumes from with the Shoujo Beat imprint, as well as moving on to Kodansha. There, A Silent Voice, Parasite, Attack on Titan, and then from N-Press, for example, Horimiya, from Vertical, for example, Arakawa Under the Bridge, and also Tokyo Pop, standard tankobon sizes, like Karekano, and also, I haven't put a cover in this, but it's in a manga bag, but it's Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei from Del Rey. So there is a bit excess at the top, as you can see, but yeah, this is the cover I use the most, I think. Moving on is the last size that I have, which is the Oban comic size. This is the pink bag, and this I use for a lot of volumes as well, actually, like this signature editions, like Real or B-Stars, also this signature perfect editions, like Monster. And moving on to Kodansha, I use it for the hardcover Vinland Saga releases, and I also tried using it for Itchy F, but there's actually a bit too much of excess plastic, I think. But it's just one volume, so I guess it doesn't matter that much. And also the larger Kodansha tankobons, there is quite a bit of excess, but I think it's alright. Like Land of the Lustrous. And for Dark Horse, I used them for these omnibuses of Planet Tess and Blade of the Immortal. What I also use them for is Silver Spoon from N-Press, Blank Canvas from 7Seas, Complete Flowers Evil. Here too, there's a bit of a large excess piece here. This is the Flowers of Evil, the Omnibus editions by Vertical, and also the Summit of the Gods published by Pun Mond, I think, are examples of books that I use this size for. So this was a quick overview, but I'll try to make a blog post where I list all the series that I have and which size cover I use for them, as well as, for example, with thicker volumes, or thinner volumes maybe, like crossgang, where the band that it sticks onto isn't necessarily placed where this sticky part will reach it, I'll adjust it with tape. And in those cases, I'll try to mark that as well on the blog post. So in the case of, for example, Vinland Saga Volume 1 and other books, when you look at the place where this sticky piece sticks onto the plastic band on the book cover, this band that it sticks onto is actually placed around here, which means that this sticky piece won't reach it. And what I've done is that I just cut it at the top and the bottom and tape it further this way so that it will reach. So right now it's taped to around here, and the sticky piece folds over and onto this part. So that way, even though it doesn't initially fit the book covers can still be used. Here are some other examples of books where I have to adjust the placement of the plastic piece unless it wouldn't fit. So this I've taped to a different location so that it fit. And also with the Mobile Suit Gundam, the origin volumes, you can see that it sticks to around here, but the actual placement of this band is, I think, around here or something, so it really doesn't reach. So also there are a few books that I don't use these covers for, and those are, for example, Sunny, Neon Genesis Evangelion. This is a 3-in-1, and the This Big editions of Vagabond, and the Wandering Sun release in English, because these are actually too tall for the largest size that I have. The Oban, the pink one, but actually there are larger sizes available on CD Japan's website. I just haven't checked them out yet, so those might actually fit these. If you've tried using those, then please let me know. So this ended up being quite the long video, and we're nearing the end here. I hope that some of the info from this video was helpful or just a little bit informative, and that it has helped you decide whether you want to buy and use book covers or not. And thank you so much for watching up until this point, and I'll see you in my next video. Have a nice day.